NAK Kenya Party, a constituent of the Azimio coalition, has formally written to the Azimio coalition Secretary General indicating interest in exiting the party. The Martha-led Karua party cited the recent political developments as the reason for their decision, confirming the rift within the coalition despite rhetoric that the coalition is intact.
The opposition coalition has now been cemented by the move by the Karua-led party to exit the coalition. The party's acting Secretary General Asha Bashir communicated this decision in a letter addressed to Junet Mohammed. The letter states, "Kindly take note that our stay in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is not tenable due to the prevailing political developments. As NAK Kenya, by way of this letter, we are giving the notice to exit the coalition as stipulated in the exit clause in the coalition's agreement. This notice is effective from the date of this letter." This decision comes despite recent assurances that the coalition was intact and that the relationship with other coalition leadership was solid. The voices in Azimio in the past few weeks have been dissenting, with the coalition constituent parties pulling in different directions. The split was widened in the coalition over the calls for a broad-based government by the Kenya Kwanza Alliance regime, with the constituent parties in the coalition asserting they will not be part of it. The recent developments that have seen the ODM members nominated to join the government have so far exposed the rift in the opposition. Azimio had earlier maintained that joining the government in any form was not a subject of debate. Martha Karua, who was Raila Odinga's running mate in the 2022 presidential race, was seen as a potential leader of the coalition. Her departure may herald a major transformation or end for the alliance.
Actions speak louder than words. Odinga has denied, being in bed with the government of the day. However, Odinga's, running mate in the 2022 general election, Martha Karua, has ditched Azimio. Is it sending a strong message that Azimio is dead?
Well, Azimio on paper may not be dead, but in spirit, Azimio is no longer alive. Martha Karua is telling Kenyans that she had seen what has happened behind the scenes. And as a person of integrity, she has decided that she's not going to be part of it. Raila Odinga has not been sincere to Kenyans. That's what Martha Karua is confirming. Well, people may be asking what she is taking away through the resignation. But she's reminding us that we still have people in this country who have integrity, who are guided by values and principles. So, yes, we may have the document that was deposited with the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties confirming that Azimio is a going concern in Kenya, but in truth, let's look at the Jubilee members of parliament who are supposed to be part of Azimio. Do they really work for Azimio? The answer is they don't. Now that we have members of the ODM party crossing the aisle, is Azimio still the coalition that it was formed to be? We've seen a split in those who were sponsored by the DAP party. So clearly, Azimio is not sitting pretty. It's safe to say that we've reached a juncture where political realignments are the order of the day.
Could it be Martha Karua lacked bargaining powers in the reconstitution of the new cabinet? Considering ODM has 86 members, Jubilee 28, Wiper 26, independent candidates are 12, NC 8, Ford Kenya 6, DAPK 5, KANU 5, UDM 4, KUP 3, PAR 3, Maendeleo Chap 2, UPIA 2, TSP 2, whereas NAK Kenya 0. There was a conversation that Azimio would have gotten at least 7 cabinet slots. However, ODM took the majority share of 4. So the 3, Wiper rejected, DAPK rejected, and perhaps Martha Karua is just expressing the fact that she feels shortchanged, or not even serving interests, her political interests, especially in Azimio, because at the end of the day, they will make decisions based on their numbers.
I beg to differ, because the NAK Kenya party had what it took for them to be given the slot of a running mate in the 2022 general election.
Maybe that was a gender card being played then.
Well, if it was enough then, it would still be enough today, even for the appointments. And especially given that, like you've mentioned, there are parties that declined to take up the positions that were offered to them. So those positions could easily have trickled down to Martha Karua's NAC party. Knowing Martha Karua, she stands for something. She's guided by values and principles. Let's give it to her that she had the courage to walk out when it no longer made sense for her to be part of that coalition.
And now to Eric, you know, there is another conversation that perhaps Martha Karua was dared. If you ditch Azimio, you'll get this AG nominee. Does she qualify to be an AG?
Well, I don't see any reason why she shouldn't be. Ultimately, you know, I'm not in any position to even influence whether she can get it.
In terms of qualifications?
But in terms of qualification, yes, indeed, she qualifies. You know, as it is, the power to appoint is the prerogative so much of the president, but anyone who is to be appointed in that position, of course, must have legal background, which she has. I mean, in terms of Martha Karua leaving the coalition, one of the things that that points to is the fact that with this master stroke, the alternative government has been completely disorganized. And I think that political parties that intend to seek power in the next election will now begin to look at their options. And perhaps Martha Karua is just basically saying that there's no need for us to wait until 2027. We might as well as just part ways and begin looking at possible friends and partners who can run in the next election. Because I think that, for me, going forward will be the conversation that will begin to pick up.
Rachel, is there an impact Martha Karua leaving Azimio?
Unfortunately, none.
There is none?
Really, remember
even the gender balance.
Not even gender balance here. Remember even her own polling station. Baba was beaten clearly, I think 99% in her own polling station, meaning as we perceive that it was optics, that Martha Karua would come with women and all that kind of stuff, even where she was, then she did not mobilize enough. So I'm sorry to say that her exit is not reducing the coalition, or we are not going to fill any gap that we don't have a lady. There are many women within the coalition, not maybe at that level position, but then it's nothing really hard that Martha has left Azimio, so we are really going to feel the pinch. There's nothing. If anything, someone would even perceive it like possible burden. Sorry to say that. But then, again, as Debbie and my friend here has said, we are starting to see an earlier realignment of political parties, like what we've seen in the past. Before, it's always a year or two, but this time around, I think people have started to start moving to whom would I want to move forward with come 2027, especially after now the top cream of ODM, quote unquote, joining the ruling party, because they cannot say they are still ODM members but working for UDA, because then the RIA would say that legally that is not right, that you are an ODM member but you are subscribing to a different ideology. Then if you look at the party rules, then that alone qualifies one to be removed from the party. So the moment they are nominated or they are picked as the cabinet secretaries, then they automatically cease from being members of ODM party. Yeah.
Muthiora, you know, yesterday we also saw maybe a new political front in the Western region.
Yeah.
With Edwin Sifuna, ODMSG, you know, coming together with his, let's say, fierce critic.
Yes, erstwhile nemesis.
That is UDSG, Cleophas
Yes.
Malala, and the Tawe movement leader, the governor for Trans Nzoia, George Natembea. And on Monday, they say they're going to the grassroots to, you know, start having a conversation. You know, what is this happening? Edwin Sifuna, Malala, you know, Natembea, they're saying the leaders who have been there, they have failed them.
Yeah.
Is Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi under siege?
They indeed are, because from the kind of leadership that has been exhibited by the younger leaders from the western part of Kenya, clearly we expected that with the cabinet reshuffle, because it's really not a dissolution now that people have been recycled back. They are competent people. Talk about Malala. He's been faithful to the KK coalition. He qualifies as one who could have been nominated for a cabinet slot. He was not. Edwin Sifuna, if indeed ODM was approached, he did qualify. Now, if we have the head
So
of
who would
the-
have been dropped in the list? Hassan Joho?
Well, that's an option. We have the octogenarian, as they call him, the other deputy party leader. He could have been dropped, and Edwin Sifuna could have done.
So this could be possibly out of the cabinet reshuffle that took place, and they felt left out.
Well, not just left out. There has been these thoughts that the two leaders have been blocking the emergence of other youthful leaders from the region. So it's about time they cleared the pathway so that the Western Bloc has people who are more in touch with what's happening on the ground.
Theory on Malala, Sifuna, Natembea coming together. Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi come 2027, will they have a ground considering their positions now? Do not allow them to mobilize politically.
Clearly, they are under siege, or there is an attempt to move past them. And that doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, that is that's what I've been alluding to all along, that we are likely to begin seeing politicians looking at themselves and trying to see how they are going to place themselves. I have no doubt that the Tawe movement in Western Kenya has gained significant traction. When you listen and when you look at what the people are saying, especially after this Finance Act, you have seen one or two members of parliament from the Western region being beaten up by their own constituents.
Yeah.
Some of them have not been able to go to even places like funerals and be allowed to speak because the crowd is hostile. And the Tawe movement just came at the right time, and now it is picking up. So when you see Malala coming out of, who is the Secretary General of UDA, and Sifuna, who is the SG, and who are now coming up, if you are to ask yourself, who are the leaders of the future, of today and going into the future, you would start saying that from Western region, those would be the leaders. And there are people who have a profile, and of course with Natembea and the others, who already have the public profile and can be able to build a political momentum. And so that is not, it is something that I expect going into the future will become a thing. The other question we need to look at ourselves is to ask ourselves, in terms of political realignment, what is going to happen? You have, for example, Rigiji, and certain positions that he has taken. and you go to Mount Kenya, you see that there is a political turmoil against what is happening right now. What would it mean to Mount Kenya and to the other regions? And I think even ODM is beginning to look at it and ask themselves, where are we going to go? So, and you know, those that intend to take power, start planning now. And even what the president is doing in terms of the appointments that he has done, he's already looking at 2027. So everyone is looking at 2027, and this move now is a catalyst for people now to begin making their political choices.
Rachel, you know, Edwin Sifuna dared that he even can relinquish his position as the SG. And perhaps on this other side, you know, with Raila being in the picture, or Musalia Mudavadi's party now also, you know, planning to merge with UDA, or I think they've actually merged. Could it be Malala is set to be fired from the SG position? On this other side, Sifuna sees possibly his seat might go. You know, there is a conversation that Opondo Kaluma wants to take over the SG position. And now these realignments are starting to form up. How are you looking at these? And maybe Salasia will join them.
Again, depending on where one would want to vie come 2027, especially this is in regard to our SG Sifuna, then maybe the Tawe movement may help him there. But I don't think even as much as the Tawe movement has gained traction, it has a lot in Nairobi. So if he still has hopes of defending his seat in Nairobi, then he has to really think through, would it be the right thing for me? And then which party then would I use to retain my seat come 2027? And if you look at the political outfit or whatever they are trying to come up with, and they say they are going to do their own quote-unquote public participation on way forward for the young people of Western region. One thing that I saw is like when they talk about the leadership, they were not having any women around them. So I don't know whether to them leadership is, they are now speaking more of a patriarchy kind of a thing, that leadership is preserved for men for that region. So that already is a red flag for any woman leader within that region. That is this really what I would want to associate with, you know. We are trying to talk people away from tribal kind of politics. And here we are seeing the same very young people saying, let us come up with our own thing. Why didn't they then pick young people from different regions and say, we have seen the political happenings and we feel that the way forward is ABCD? Then people would look at them like real leaders as opposed to trying to come up like tribal leaders within their regions.
As we begin to end up, Muthiora, even as you give your final remarks, Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President, you know, had set traps to ensure Odinga does not get to State House.
Yes, and he failed.
And you say he has failed.
Yes.
What's next for him?
Well, what's next for Rigathi Gachagua is he is faced with early retirement. The reason President William Ruto left Musalia Mudavadi when he was firing every other cabinet secretary was because his future plans include Musalia Mudavadi and not Rigathi Gachagua. The only reason Rigathi Gachagua is still in office today is because the Constitution demands that he's in office till he's impeached, till he resigns, or till he's found incapacitated or incapable of going on, or till the term ends. So Rigathi Gachagua should prepare for an early retirement. Now, that said, let us ask ourselves, why is the president muddying the water so much? It's because chaos will get us to focus on what's not important for Kenyans, which is the president delivering on the promises he made. These realignments we are seeing right now come a year to the general elections. Our president, being a seasoned politician, knows that for people not to focus on what matters, let's turn the volume up on politics. And that's really, really unfortunate.
Well, thank you. Eric Gachagua, the DP. What options perhaps does Ruto have? Is there a possibility that he is impeached? Is that provided for in the Constitution? Would they mount pressure on him to resign? What is the future of Gachagua? Also, as you give your parting shot.
It might be difficult to predict the future for Gachagua, but there is no denying that he is in a difficult position. But I think nearly every politician now is in a difficult position.
Times are changing.
All of them have now retreated. All of them are at their chessboard. And all of them are looking at their next political move. So Gachagua is looking at his next political move. Ruto is looking at his next political move. Every politician is looking at their next political move. And I think that ultimately, and I hope that even in the midst of all this politics, we shouldn't lose the one thing that has come out of the kind of situation that we have gone through as a country. And that is the one for seeking